Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan video. In this video we're going to talk about another combination of units. This time we're going to be talking about the TEQ Caulifla and the Strength Kale. Now TEQ Caulifla and Strength Kale are some of the best combos of units for a lot of reasons. Firstly, they gain a huge variety of buffs when they're alongside each other, but also they serve as perfect foils for each other. Caulifla and her dodge enable her to be a great short-term option to help protect the Strength Kale as she builds up and gets ready for later parts of the event, whereby she will then be able to take the first position and you can have Caulifla move to the second slot. Now obviously there are some things you have to consider before you run them as a duo. Firstly, Caulifla and Kale are both very heavily tied to being on a Universe 6 / Pepe Gals team. So Caulifla and Kale both gain percentages based on Universe 6 and Pepe Gals units. So this is something you kind of have to be prepared to do. They're not a combination you can run on just any team. They're not a combination you can just run and say, oh, it's going to do really, really well. Because unfortunately it's not. Pepe Gals, Pure Saiyans, those are kind of the teams where they thrive the most. Universe 6, obviously for Caulifla. Now, one thing I will say, Kale definitely, at least for me, has this kind of like really amazing kind of growth potential. And in these longer events that have now started to come out, we can really start to seal the benefit of them being together. The only real weakness the pairing does have, barring its limited availability on teams, is that they need to be next to each other. So, like, especially Kale as a unit, a big component of her is that she has guard all attacks when there is the unit Caulifla alongside her. And what this means is she can have very rough starts to content. Outside of that small window, if you've got them on the right team, they are nigh on indestructible. As long as evasion's not disabled, Caulifla effectively cannot be hit. She has such a high level of evasion. She gets 8% per Universe 6 or Pepe Gals category unit. What this means is that if there's a Pepe Gals or a unit that meets both requirements, she gets 16% per unit. So just having her and Kale together gives you 32% already. Throw in just 2 more Universe 6 Pepe Gals units and she has a 64% dodge rate, which is pretty ridiculous. She also has the ability to increase allies' attacks. She also has the ability to boost her own attack as long as there's Kale in her rotation. She definitely feels more dependent on the team build, but less dependent on Kale, whereas Kale feels less dependent on the team build because hers is just kind of a little bit of raw stats, but far more dependent on having Caulifla in the rotation. So that's probably what I would surmise them. I'm not saying they're indestructible in all content, but I definitely feel like they are a super duper fun combo to run in a ton of content. I've used them against Masu, I've used them in these latest red zones. Any long form event, they are a really fun combo to run together because they both can get some really nice attack stats off. They build themselves up, they have great scalability, and their kits and links obviously fit perfectly together. Strength Kale being able to rock out like a baby mini Mystic Gohan, and Caulifla being pretty much a form of UI Goku. It's very impressive and pretty cool. So I'm not gonna lie, it's one of my favorite rotations. Yes, it has its limitations, but I think when it's done right and when it gets everything going, it's a super fun combination to run, and I genuinely find it to be really, really cool. But yeah, that's it for me. Honestly, I'd love to hear what kind of rotations you guys like to run. I think with longer form events, you're going to find Caulifla and Kale really finding their footing in a lot of content. They definitely feel really good, to me at least, at this point. But yeah, like I say, I'd love to hear what you guys think of the combo. I do think, like, outside of that turn where Caulifla and Kale aren't on rotation, I think they really are just quite, maybe not impenetrable, but incredibly good together. And I think they are super duper effective, really solid as well. I do think, obviously, in non-evasion events, the combo loses a ton of effectiveness because the short-term evasion of Caulifla really covers for Kale in the beginning. But the stacking does give them some kind of coverage for those situations, or at least for if evasion is cut out later on in the event. But yeah, that's it for me. Let me know what you guys think, and I'd love to hear it. But otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one. So until then, as always, take care, stay safe.